Great. Hi, I'm Tammy Heflebower and Vice President Marzano Research Lab, and I am a practitioner. So I've been a teacher and a building leader and a district leader. I have also worked in intermediate agencies as well as at state and national level, and have the privilege of working with teachers and leaders all over the country and now actually all over the world. Thank you.
I'm Phil Warrick. I'm the Associate Vice President at Marzano Research Lab. I've been a teacher, principal, district leader, and now I'm full-time with the Marzano Labs, and as Tammy said, working with educators all over the world. The purpose of the art and science of teaching is to really provide a common language for instruction so that teachers can speak and operate within the same framework and the same language when they are planning instruction, collaborating with each other, and so that it makes it easier for them to really have a baseline understanding of what really high quality instruction is, and it allows schools to use it as an instructional model where everybody speaks about instruction in the same way.
I would also add that it's well researched. There are 9 design questions, really 10, but one is a planning model or planning tool. 9 design questions that really surface into 3 different lesson segments, ways in which you look at learning through the lens of what goes on in the classroom. And again, to echo a bit of what Phil said, having that consistency really makes sense for teachers. It makes great sense for kids as well. And the whole piece just is it has a lot of elements built in for engagement, for example. It has design learning goals, making sure that those are complete and clear. We have all other kinds of components about it, but those are a few of the highlights. I think one of the first things that really benefits for teachers, for leaders, and for regional leaders is that I'll speak as a regional leader, which I was for a while. It would be the equivalent in the States. And what Design Question 1 does is it really makes us get clear about what it is we want all students to know and be able to do, and to what level. And so I cannot speak enough to the consistency piece that is needed at both the region and the district, and of course then the classroom level and the school level, to really make sure that no matter which teacher I get, no matter which school I might be in, that what I learn is consistent and the expectation for how well I learn that is also consistent.
And I would say that why is it useful, why is it important for educators at all levels is two particular pieces. One, for years in education, we've been striving to improve, but in many instances we speak about our business differently. And this allows us to have a real solid vehicle for collective wisdom around our craft of teaching and learning within the common language. As a principal of 2 different schools, when we had the common language, it allowed our teachers to collaborate so much more effectively, so much more efficiently, to understand clearly what my expectations were for instruction at our school as the school leader, because we use the art and science of teaching as our model, so teachers knew clearly this is how we teach at this school. When you get to leaders of larger entities such as regional leaders or state leaders, it's a really valuable model because they can bank on it being research-based. And when they talk with the folks who they deal with, they can help them know that the way we instruct in our schools is based on 30 plus years of research put into a framework that's incredibly easy to understand and incredibly effective for teachers to use when they think about instruction on a daily basis.
Well, I mentioned before the consistency piece among the teachers. The same is true for students. It's very clear now. There isn't this guessing game as to what I have to do in this class to be successful. And so I am more in ownership of my own learning. I have an opportunity now to clearly see what the goals and expectations are. I know what I need to do to meet them. I have opportunities to have reassessment and relearning opportunities if I haven't met them. And the expectation really puts the onus back on me as the student and as the main element in the learning, because I now have to know where I'm going, and it's up to me as to whether or not that I get there. It isn't just, well, teacher can't just say, well, I taught it, they just didn't get it. It's now we're all in this together, and the students have a very big ownership role.
And another thing, the art and science of teaching is a piece of what we call a causal model. So because it's a common language of instruction based on a great deal of research, we know that the quality of teacher in the classroom is the single most important factor for student learning. So students benefit in the causal chain because as we improve the effectiveness of teachers in the classroom, we improve student achievement. And what we often say to schools is this: if you can raise the level of effectiveness for every teacher in your school gets better instantly. And over time, 3, 4, 5 years, if you have a common model for instruction, expectations for what occurs in every classroom, you can do a better job of ensuring that every student, regardless of which teacher they get, is going to have a good experience instructionally, which turns into learning. Just since we began working with some schools last February, it's been really interesting because we have supported them through an online sharing opportunities so that they can share ideas with each other across schools, so that they can access us as resources. It's been very, very interesting. Yesterday we met with a few educators from some of those schools, and just to see the awareness they have now of what good practice is compared to maybe what was happening before. They're really aware of the level that they really need to move to instructionally to have a positive effect on student learning. And I think also now the schools are beginning to speak about instruction in the same way. So it's much easier for them to help each other and to decide, what areas do I really need to grow in as a teacher? Now they have a way to speak about it and a way to categorize that.
We've set it up here in Australia. We're using a bit of an academy model, and what that means is that we do some intensive training. So it's anywhere from 5 to 6 days of intensive training on the art and science of teaching framework. And then what we ask teachers to do is actually go back and try that. And so we do a couple days, and then there's time in between, and then we come back and do the remaining piece. So it gives a great opportunity for teachers to try things, to get questions answered, as Phil said, to have some interactivity with others. And then we actually build in what's called an action research piece. So not only do we expect them to try it, we expect them to try it, and we're going to see, did it make a difference in student achievement? So that's the piece that we're embarking on right now, and I think it's a really exciting piece for teachers. Oftentimes they know that it works, in practice, but sometimes it's really great to have it supported in the theory as well, and they get to see that come to life. So they learn how to be practitioners in the field of research. They see how research actually follows what they do in the practice, and I think that has been helpful. And I would echo what you said, Phil. We've had a number of people for whom now are being asked with their national curriculum to make sense of it. Making sense of it is exactly components of the art and science of teaching. And as well as that, I think having a framework of instruction is now something that's being expected. And so I think it just works really, really well.
Yeah, and I would add to that, one of the things that she's exactly right, what it does for teachers, what it does for leaders is it helps leaders communicate, this is what we expect in our school. And it's really allowed them to say, we want to be about this because we know it's good instruction, our kids deserve good instruction.
What I appreciate about the work that we do at Marzano Research Lab, and particularly to the art and science of teaching, is I believe it's some of the most comprehensive work that I've seen. So in my experiences as a teacher to a building leader to a district leader, this one framework puts all of the elements of the components of curriculum, as well as the components of a good instruction, as well as the components of good assessment, all in one consistent place. So I don't have to try to piecemeal different authors and different other ideas. It's all really there. And then we continue to expand upon areas of it where we see, so for example, we see a lot of interest in the engagement side. So there's actually a design question on engagement. We actually have a book that is specific now to that engagement. And we have one now in 21st Century Skills that's also really building upon what we would see are some of those intangible skills that students need. So we continue to enhance the model as well, knowing the full time that that's the foundational piece of all of our work.
And I would say, to build on what Tammy said, we continue to support it with additional resources like she's mentioned. Some of those resources are free to schools, and we encourage them to download them from our website. We have others that are pieces of research that have not come out in books, such as Becoming a Reflective Teacher. And what that really does is helps teachers understand the language of the art and science from the aspect of, I'm going to self-reflect on my own performance and really plan for my own growth. In August, we'll have the next piece coming out called Coaching Classroom Instruction, to help leaders and instructional coaches know better how to support teachers. And so when a school makes a decision to move to the art and science of teaching as a framework for instruction, it doesn't stop there. There's a lot of support for leaders, for coaches, for teachers that will be ongoing, not just in training we can offer, but in resources that we'll continue to supply.